I know it's not really technically Happy New Year. We got a couple days left for that, but 2022 is right around the corner and it's really exciting stuff. What's really exciting today is all about these tutors that we're going to be featuring and chatting with who they've gotten past writer's block, and this is one of the things that can really stop us when it comes to writing on our blog. So we are going to be featuring some people who have taken part in the Writers Blogging Challenge that is by Suzanne Davis. And Suzanne is coming on into the house as well to share all about our tutor bloggers that are on fire. And if you guys have not signed up for Impact yet, you want to do so now. 6 days, 22 hours, and counting. It will begin. There'll be no YouTube Live next week because that's where we'll be. We're going to be on over there working on Impact. Every single day, there are 4 or 5 speakers that are going to be talking all about the things that are most important to us as tutors. And I think this is really cool. It's all focused on topics. It doesn't matter if you're a beginner in here or if you're somebody who are new to the industry, or you're somebody who's been in the industry for a long time. There are going to be topics that are going to bring all of us together and help us be able to take our business to the next level. So I'm really excited about that, and definitely make sure the link is in the description. Sign up for Impact. All of the times are already set. You'll get a list of who is speaking and when. You can join our Facebook group, all that great stuff. So definitely join us for Impact because it is going to be impactful. You know what I'm going to do, you guys? I'm so excited about this. I had this idea. I just got those maps, that you can scratch off. And I was like, oh, for Impact, wouldn't it be cool to see how many different places around the world we can impact with the conference? So you're going to see every single day of the conference, I'm going to be scratching off where people are from. So I think that'll be a really fun way to kind of join us all together. So it'll be fantastic. People are also going to get to win prizes. We have free prizes every single day. Like I'm going to be giving away my book, How to Start an Online Tutoring Business. We have TutorBird is going to be giving away a free year's subscription. We have the Hue document cameras. They're going to be coming on in, and they're giving away 2 Hue document cameras. So really, really awesome stuff, you guys. So you definitely don't want to miss it. Come and join us for Impact. It's free. It's 5 days, and it's going to be worth it. I promise. Well, Suzanne, so glad that you are here and joining us today.
Oh, this is a great way to get back into work, to be here with you and all these tutor bloggers that won the challenge. I'm excited.
Isn't that awesome? Yeah, I was just writing about how I sent out an email earlier today to everyone about how to get rid of writer's block. And I know that you've worked with a lot of tutors in the past who, when they talk about blogging, all of a sudden they're like, but I don't know what to write about, right? So
Absolutely.
How did you get so many people to win the challenge and begin writing?
Well, it's probably best that you hear it from them. But the first thing that I like to do is bust through that writing barrier by doing something that is called free write. And yes, that's where people take a topic, and they just write for a certain amount of time. And so for the challenge, most people would follow that advice, and they would write on a blogging topic, anything that comes into their mind, the knowledge that they already have about it, for about 10 minutes a day. And that you can write a lot within 10 minutes. And that's, these ladies have just been committed to this, and they blew it out of the park. They really, really did. It was amazing to see.
That is awesome. And you have 2 different challenges that they can go through. Can you tell us about those?
Certainly. The first challenge is the Tutor Blogging Stars Challenge. And so that's where bloggers would be writing for a total of 3,000 words in a month. And then there's the Rockstar Challenge, which is where people write 6,000 words in a month. And so the Rockstar Challenge is good for somebody who really wants to be like creating these longer blog posts every week, or every other week,
Mm-hmm.
And the 3,000 is really good for people who are kind of at that beginning phase. Then they are writing maybe every other week, but maybe their blog posts are shorter in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
So I like to have it at those two levels. And what happened this time was that some people, like Janae was one of them, even started at that lower level and then outright just won the challenge.
Yay!
Yeah.
Congratulations, Janae. That's awesome.
Yeah, I took Suzanne's advice to do the 10 minutes a day, and I think that was just a really good way to get it going, because sometimes I would go a lot longer than 10 minutes, and then just setting aside that time, it was so amazing to see, like, there's really not an excuse to say you don't have time to blog, because the 10 minutes a day was so doable.
Right.
And yeah, I just really appreciated the course, because I've been really wanting to add blogging to my tutoring business. And I found that once I started writing, you thought of so many more ideas. So they kept kind of
Yes.
flowing. And I've kind of gotten off over the holidays, but even this meeting is going to, I think, kick my butt into gear. So yeah, I like having the accountability. So it was really good for me. I like a good challenge.
Yes. So I think that, like you've mentioned, like really 3 points there. Doing a challenge with others, because that then gives you accountability, and then short periods of time, like 10 minutes a day. So it's not like a lot of times when people think about blogging, they become so overwhelmed with the whole entire process that they just don't even get started. But I'm curious because how did you come up with your topics, Janae, to write about?
Well, Suzanne helped us like brainstorm ideas and stuff. But then, like I said, like I would start writing sometimes, and like new ideas would pop up as I would like research and stuff. But I had like created my freebie back when I took the course with you over the summer. So I really needed to get that blog out. So that was like one of the main ones that I focused on during the course. And then, like I said, it just kind of spun into other things. So yeah, it was great.
Awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, when somebody gives you like some like starting points, like, okay, do you have anything that fits this topic or this idea, or all of a sudden all these different ideas start coming on out. You're like, okay, how to blog posts? Are there any how to blog posts that I could do? Are there any epic list blog posts that I could create? Are there any thing that a frequently asked question that people ask a lot? Could I do a blog post about that? Right. And all of a sudden, all these ideas start coming on out. And then you could just actually have like an entire year of ideas hashed out in an hour or less. It's amazing how quickly all of that happens. And you're not sitting there anymore about, I don't know what to write about, because every day you're writing on that one topic you've already chosen. And then you just get right to and you begin writing. And there you have it. So it's awesome. So what did you end up writing your blog post about, Janae?
Oh, I did. My freebie was like on ways to make reading fun at home and less of like a struggle, because I feel like a lot of my clients say it's like a big battle. So
yeah.
And then I'm finding too that like the more that I do for my business, like doing like the emails out to people and like the freebie and the sign up, automated emails and everything, I was able to use a lot of that kind of. If I didn't use it exactly, I would kind of go back through, you can almost like recycle a lot of things.
Yes.
So it's been kind of nice to see that happening. It's like once you do the work, it kind of all falls together. So
yeah, absolutely. And I find like my fingers just start typing. Like when I get into the groove, it's really hard for me to get out of the groove. And like you said, like sometimes you even start writing even more than you even thought you were going to write. I want to welcome some of the people that are joining us inside of Facebook and inside of YouTube. We've got Amy Janjgava. Welcome. So glad you are here. We have another tutor that is in South Carolina. I can't see your name. I apologize, but welcome. So glad that you are here as well. We've got Magnolia Beauty in the house, and Catherine Morris, Ayaton, Carrie, and Beth Hansford. So thanks you guys for joining us today to tap on into what is the secret when you get stuck and you don't know what to write about. And I think what we find is sometimes it's the little things that we do that have a greater impact. And I talk about the compound effect a lot, you guys. It's not about taking massive action all the time, all at once, and then giving up on something. It's about being more consistent over time. That is going to have a really big impact on your business, and specifically with blogging. Denise, tell us a little bit about your blog and what your experience was like.
My blog, I focus mainly on reading comprehension, since that's my main focus, and I do a little bit of math. So what I found with you and Suzanne, actually, when I went through your program, you initially gave us like this mind map. You know what I'm talking about? So the mind map just kind of goes through what the parents' concerns and questions are. And Suzanne had brought that back out. And so when I end up using that, and then she went through even further and was showing us all these different ways to create all these like topics, whether it's virtually, whether you wanted to write it down, it didn't matter. Her whole purpose was just find different topics that you can talk about. And I feel like for me, that was like the key to opening up my whole mindset of not getting stuck. And once I started doing that, everything just kind of coupled on top of each other. Just like Janae was saying, I would be writing for 10 minutes, but then I would end up writing for like an hour. Yeah. And so instead of like doing like, 200 words, you're doing like 600, 800 words in a day. And then I would find if the next day, if I was over that topic in my heart, in my spirit, I would just go to the next topic. And so I never ran out of things to keep writing about.
That's so, great. And then you always have, and then like Janae said, you can be reusing and repurposing and thinking about, oh, where would this fit, or where does this fit? Maybe this would be a great for another blog, even like maybe not even my blog or somebody else's blog, where I can, get some backlinking and all of that fun love. And it's funny you mentioned that the empathy map. That's actually the very first session that I am holding for Impact, guys. It's all about how to write so that people can hear you. And when you are writing from their perspective and not your perspective, then all of a sudden things make a big difference and people really begin to connect with you. So I'm going to be sharing that process on Thursday live with you guys that join Impact and walking through that process. But that's where I get a lot of my content from too, as I start thinking about, okay, what is most important to my ideal client? And then once you guys start building communities online, you can then begin tapping on into the community and say, okay, what do you guys want? What do you want me to write about? Or, what do you want me to create a video on, or whatever it is? Like you can tap into all of that stuff. So, you're really building a strong, solid marketing plan when you build in blogging. Janae, you mentioned email marketing. These are two things. They're practically free things that you can take advantage of, that while you think they are going to take a lot of time, sometimes they don't take as much time as you think that they are going to. What were some of the big ahas that you guys had as you were going through this process? Or I should say, what are some of the things that were holding you back from starting it before? Let's start there. What were some things that were holding you back from your writing on your blog post before you joined the contest?
Oh yeah, go ahead. I think just for me, it was just like that feeling of like, I don't know how to blog. Like, I don't know what I'm doing. So just having that like reassurance of like, and then having Suzanne show us how it's done and walking us through the process was really helpful for me, because sometimes I think I just feel like, who am I to write a blog? Like, I don't know how to do that. So it was just really nice. And it's really not as hard. You always make it harder, I think, in your mind. So, and it's like just really great for me. I like I'm very social, like to have like the support from other people, and it really motivates me. So yeah, and then just setting aside the time to do it as well, you know, to meet for the course, and then scheduling myself to do it every day was like huge. So
Yeah.
I think that
Absolutely. I'll go with everything Janae said. I'll say that for me it was like a mental block. Like, do I know what to talk about? Is it going to be responsive to the people who are reading? Is it going to be beneficial to them? And because you want to be good and you want to be great for your clients or future clients, I think sometimes that could just hold me back in my mind. What if I'm not helping them in the way that I want to, you know? And I feel like Suzanne really helped us zone in and hone in on, well, what is it that they want? Like you were saying, the empathy map. And then even when she was talking about keywords, like something as simple as keywords was such a huge deal and flip for me, because it was helping you narrow down exactly what you were talking about for your clients. And that was really, I love that. That was really beautiful and helpful for me, for sure.
And Suzanne is going to be sharing about the whole SEO and keywords and blogging at the conference next week. So definitely come join us for that. It's free, so you have nothing to lose. You just have to sign on up. The link is in the description, because you really get a lot of value out of that when you can write to a keyword, or focus on one keyword that's not just like broad, right? It's a little bit more narrowed down. You're actually you're doing the research to find out, do people want to really even read this? Is this something they're interested in, right? Because that's where some of the gold is. If you want to get some SEO love, if you want to get some Google love, this is where some of the gold is. I see you're shaking your head there, Suzanne. What are your thoughts?
Yes, I was just really connecting with that point that you were making about it being really the more specific keywords being kind of gold, because that's what people are looking for.
Yeah.
You know that. Denise, I'm so thrilled you enjoyed keywords and getting that value from it, because I think they're sometimes intimidating, but they can be useful. When you combine that with writing for your ideal client and from your heart, with those, and you can marry it to those keywords, you're really going to hit where your ideal client's heart is too.
Yeah, I agree with that. And you know what I find? The more that I do it, all of a sudden I'm like, oh, well, I could look at it from this possibility, or I could look at it from this point of view, or I could now look at it from this point of view, or I could interview somebody who's done that. I can now talk about it from somebody, a great book that's out there that I could reference and do a review about that's kind of on the same topic, right? All of a sudden your brain just starts like, I feel like your brain is not a full glass. It's almost like your brain is like a glass that's like half full, and then the more that you're like sipping the water out of it, it like, remember those magic glasses where it was like an infinite amount? I had the baby dolls with the little, baby bottles that were milk in it, and the milk never disappeared. I mean, it would disappear when you went like this, but then all of a sudden you go like this and it refilled back again. I feel like that's exactly what it's like when you start writing and you start like blogging. All of a sudden you think what's going to happen is you're going to start writing, and all of the amazing information that you have in the world is going to be out there for the world, and people are going to just steal it, take it, and you have nothing else to give. But what ends up happening is you end up researching, learning more through the process, having more ideas and angles where you could approach it and come at it. So that can be really, really awesome. So what are your thoughts now that you've actually gone through the process, now that you've gone through the process of writing blog posts and diving on in for 10 minutes a day or longer? What are your thoughts about blogging in the future? Do you feel like you're going to be hindered still by some of those previous thoughts you had?
No, not at all. What I've actually found is that through doing the blogging program with Suzanne, it actually opened me up, because I create YouTube videos, and then I have the blog, and then I have Instagram. So what I found is that it actually made it more simple. Like I can
Yeah.
use these different things I'm talking about and put it into different genres, I guess you could call it.
Mm-hmm.
Content for Instagram, content for YouTube, content for the blog post. So actually it kind of made my life way easier. If I
Mm-hmm.
just make sure to like wake up and like write 10 to 20 minutes a day, that means I'd probably have content for maybe like 2, 3 days. So
Right.
it was really beneficial in that way
I
and
love
stop the
that.
blog.
So when you use like your blogging stuff for, tell us like how do you then repurpose it for video or for Instagram? What are some of the things that you've found to work well for you?
So for instance, for like my YouTube, I'll say like if I'm looking at my keyword and it's just so this would be broad, but then you can break it down in different areas. So for instance, reading comprehension. Well, we all know that there's a couple of different things that go into reading comprehension. So for my YouTube videos, it'll be under the umbrella reading comprehension, but it's going to have like the 4 or 5 steps
Mm-hmm.
that a student needs to master in order to be able to comprehend what they're reading. And then on Instagram, I'm just going to make like little snippets, like little I can use my YouTube videos, like maybe 5, 10 seconds, and put that in there and then draw them back to YouTube. Or I can just use the content from the blog of the reading comprehension. And now it's just like an image. And
Mm-hmm.
it'll say like the 5 steps to reading comprehension. So that's the way I do it.
I love it. And so you have to think about like how can I take that same content but put it into the format of that social media tool. And I think that's important. Like you cannot just take like you could take your blog post and spam it everywhere, but I highly suggest that you don't do that. Like if you're sharing content that is prevalent, think about your past blog posts. If somebody asks a question, do you have any past blog posts that talk about that topic? Then share that link with them, right? And so it's not now a spamming tool. It's not just like, oh, I created the blog post, I'm just going to spam it everywhere that I possibly can. Instagram, here's the link. Read my latest blog post. I'm going to create a YouTube. Hi guys, I wrote this blog post. Click the link. It's not, I go onto social media and I'm just like, hey, here you go, click the link. Like, that's kind of spammy. When I take that content and I now repurpose it for each of the different platforms, people can hear me more. So on Instagram, it could be an image with those 4 points. Inside of YouTube, I get to elaborate on it and I get to describe those 4 points. Now, my blog could be the same exact stuff that I talked about in the video, but some people like written content more than they like, spoken content. So it's repurposing it the right way for each different audience. I might take my blog post in LinkedIn and I might now make it an article inside of LinkedIn versus bring people to my website, right? So you have to understand how the different social media tools work so that you can use them properly. But when you do, it's like you've got an unending supply of things that you could be sharing with the world about what it is that you do and doing that. So what are some of the things, because yes, it's great to put great content on there. How do you drive people to take that next action in your blog? And any of you can kind of answer that, because I think that's kind of an important thing, because if I just create content, but I don't drive people to take that next step, then it might not be having the right return on investment that I would hope. So what are some things that you guys do to try to drive them into that next step?
Well, I haven't got like anybody to sign up with me through a blog post yet, but I do make it very easy for them to do that if they're at all interested. I put like the buttons like every so often, and I try to bring it back to the idea of signing up for an assessment a few times throughout, and then putting the button there, and then at the end have a bit about myself and how I can help them, or if you need more information, I'm here, just kind of like giving them several opportunities to reach out and kind of like reminding them throughout the entire piece. But that's what I've done. I don't know if that's super effective or not, but
well, it's going to improve over time, because all of a sudden the more content that you have, it starts feeling like people start finding you accidentally, right? They type something on in and your article comes up, or video you've done comes on up, or something else that you've done comes on up. And so we have no idea at which point they finally made the decision. I have people who follow me for years before they ever move forward with either tutoring or with anything with helping with coaching for helping tutors, right? So we never know how long the process is going to be for one person. And so, don't expect that you guys are going to write one blog post, those of you who are watching this, and like, boom, somebody is going to like all of a sudden move forward with you. That most likely isn't going to happen, but it is going to build a relationship over time with people as they continue to read your stuff. And it's going to help them understand what your knowledge really is versus somebody who's walking off the street saying, oh yeah, I can tutor your kid for $40 an hour, but I, don't have any experience and I don't really know what I'm doing. Right? Like they can start to feel really confident in choosing you as a tutor. And they're going to talk less about, once you do have those people come to you, they'll talk less about how much you charge, and they will start talking more about just moving forward with you, regardless of how much you charge. And I think that's key. When you're seen as an expert in the field, the coin flips, for sure. We've got Lynn Wilson back in the house. Woo woo! She got kicked out. And then she came back in. Then she got kicked out. And then she came back on in. I was not doing that, by the way. I was not kicking her out.
No. My internet was doing that.
Oh, crazy.
I think I'll have to call them.
Now, Lynn, you have done, this isn't the first time that you have done the blogging challenge.
No. And I love it. I have to say it really clicked with me this time. And Suzanne, it carried over to the real world. I have been infamous for not posting blogs. But it's only been 3 years, so and I have someone who can help me now post things, and that's what she's doing.
Oh, good.
So by tomorrow, I should have my 5 basic blogs, and they all started with the roots in Suzanne's free writing.
Mm-hmm.
And when I thought about what I really wanted to offer to people, it was easy to take anything I wrote during those free writes and direct them towards what I offer, towards my tutoring, towards an assessment. And I'm really trying to offer them hope.
Yes.
That was originally one of my first pieces that I worked on, because they need that. So I can give them information, but starting with some hope that it may take some time, but find out where your child's learning gaps are, their reading gaps. And once you identify them, you can address them.
Yep, exactly.
Baby steps. And actually, that's how Suzanne took us along from the beginning.
Yeah.
So it works with adults too.
It does. It's the learning process, isn't it? So we have to start with where we're at in the learning process. We talked. I bring this up a lot with the, conscious incompetence, right? Like we start off with unconscious incompetence where we don't even know what we don't even know. And so that's when we're in unconscious incompetence, the things that Janae and Denise were saying earlier, like, yeah, I don't really know how to blog. And it's like, it's not really. And then as soon as you start getting into it, you're like, okay, this isn't as bad as I thought it was going to be, right? You now move into more of that conscious incompetence. You're like, okay, I know how to write, but I'm not sure like how I need to format it or how I need to, publish it or any of those kinds of things. Then you learn that. And then you move on into, conscious competence. All of a sudden you're like, I've got this. I can do this. You still have to think through the pieces. Like, okay, first I need to do this. Then I need to create some images. And then I need to look for the keywords. Like you got that process is there. You have to think it through. And then you get to that last step, which is that unconscious competence where you don't even have to think anymore. You're right where Suzanne is, where, she's she's writing her blog post. She knows all the pieces, how they flow together, and how she's going to get the word out there about those blog posts. And she has a system that it's not necessarily on autopilot because she still has to be present in the process, but it's a process that isn't time consuming brain wise. Like, she doesn't have to think about each of the steps every single time as hard, and it makes it a lot easier. So just know that, like, our thought process is going to change as you go through those levels of learning. Some of us need some more like one-on-one help as we go through those processes, right? And okay, just tell me what I need to do first. Now tell me what I need to do second. Now tell me what I have to do third. Where are some of the areas, Suzanne, that you feel that people get hung up when it comes to blogging?
Well, I would say initially, and this is why I don't do keywords first, it's that keyword research. I think people will do what I did originally, which is start with that. And when they start with that, their mind kind of freezes around, I have to use this phrase, and I have to use this phrase over and over again. And where do I optimize it? And it's not naturally writing wise. So that initial phase is one area that people kind of struggle with, which is why I push it off further and further. Mm-hmm. So the other piece really that I see people kind of get hung up on is that formatting and the revising piece of the writing. So those are things that I can help with a lot visually, how to make it look more attractive, with the bold and get it to look really, really good. And then also revising that language. A lot of times the language can be too wordy, or, it can contain jargon or unexplained acronyms, with letters that maybe another teacher would know, but not other people.
Yeah. And so when we're writing, what are some things that you guys have learned to make the writing easier for somebody who doesn't have the level of education that you have? What are some things that you had to do in your writing to kind of bring it down a level? Did you guys do anything specifically? Yeah, Denise.
The first thing I did was I purchased Grammarly, which was amazing and phenomenal I don't have to worry about grammatical errors. I don't have to worry about like editing it myself, because if I do it myself, I have to write it, not look at it for a day or two, come back, and then I can process it. And with Grammarly, that like really cut out that middleman. And after that, when I write, I think about, and this is just me being a former teacher, so anyone who's been a former teacher, you understand this. When you go and you talk to your parents, you do not talk to them in teacher jargon. You just don't. You know that they're not going to understand it. You break it down in a way that they can assess what you're saying about their child, how they can help you fix wherever your child is at, and the next steps. And I think for me, I think about that. Pretend you're speaking to the parent in front of you, and what do you want to get across? How do you get across in a manner that they understand? And that's what I do, and that helps a lot. So I go back and I put that type of jargon into my anything that I'm using to ensure that everyone can understand it.
Yep. I always use it's kind of like bridge. So if I know that I've used a term that people aren't going to understand or could be a little bit technical, I kind of go through my piece and look for where are those technical pieces and just say, okay, how can I explain that better and give them a simile, a metaphor, a example of something in their life that they could relate to. How do I do that? And it's really no different than teaching, is it? Because when we're working with our students, we have to do that. And so I think it may actually come a little bit easier to those of us that work with younger children, because we have to do it all the time. We're constantly thinking about, how do I explain this so a 9-year-old gets it, right? But that's how our writing is for our blog posts too. How can I write this so a 9-year-old can understand it, because most people are only at a 4th or 5th grade reading level. I know it's sad, but if we write to a 4th or 5th grade reading level, you're going to have more people that will understand what it is that you are writing. We kind of assume sometimes that our readers are people that went to university just like we did, but it's not always the case. And so you can't make that assumption when you're doing your writing. But it does make you seem a little bit more, I think, relatable when people can understand what you're writing. I had somebody who just asked me the other day she said, I have a friend and she'd be really great at tutoring and I'm trying to get her to tutor and I think that she needs to talk to you. I said, you know what, I would love to chat with her, but I feel like I have some resources already in place that are better beginning steps for her right now. One of them being how to start an online tutoring business. I said, every single question that people have asked me about tutoring is inside of this book. And I feel like if she kind of goes through that on her own, she'll get a lot of the answers that she has. She'll get answers to those questions. And so I just sent her a free copy. And it was my PDF of it. She started reading it and she's like, all right, I am not even a tutor, but you have such great marketing advice in a way that I can understand it that I'm purchasing your book. I'm thinking, you have a free copy right now. Like, you don't need to purchase it. But she was so grateful because it was written in like a language that she could understand. And that's how we have to go about our blogging process too. Anything else that you guys realized as you were writing? Yeah, Lynn.
I was just going to relate that again. Talking to parents, talking to students. Mm-hmm. All you have to do is give some of your copy to your significant other. Give it to my husband. He'll say, what the heck is, and I will know that I overestimated what the average person is going to understand.
Yes.
So it all gets easier when you have something you really want to get across and tell people. Mm-hmm. And that made it easier for me this time around.
Yeah.
Once you have a basic draft, you can take it in a direction that you want to bring it. Mm-hmm. Because I always remember from our very first class, Robin, who tutored physics, mm-hmm. said, you can't tutor nothing. You can't edit nothing. If there's nothing there, you can't make it better.
Yeah, that's true. So you just start writing. Just start writing. Now, Tiffany.
Draft.
Yeah. Tiffany Baskerville asked a very good question. You guys feel free, jump on in, share your thoughts, your advice. She said, what advice would you give a brand new tutor, no clients yet, on how to start their blog and specifically what topics to start with? So first, Tiffany, we need to know what you tutor because it's not just a matter of, we've got to get specific on who that ideal client is, because if you don't know who your ideal client is, who you want to attract, you're not going to be able to write content that's going to attract them. So first, it comes down to figuring out who is that ideal client. And you may already have that inside of your head. Just share with us who your ideal client is, though. Is it, a high school student who is struggling with calculus? Is it a kid who's struggling with reading? What age level? Once you break down the demographics of who that ideal client is, it's going to help you. So science, awesome. Tell me more about that science. You got the science topic. Are we talking elementary science, a specific science class, middle school? Awesome. Middle school science. We've got it. All right. So middle school science, you guys, what ideas, what thoughts would you offer her?
At this point, you still have to go through the parents.
Yeah.
The parents are going to be the people who secure your services. So I like the idea of saying, what does your child need to know in 6th grade science? Or why can't my child do 6th grade science? These are vocabulary words that will be used. approach vocabulary like as the tier 3.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I did it. Okay. The different tiers of vocabulary, so specific to a content area.
Yep.
And help bring parents into it and give them something they can relate to their child and let them see that their child could use your services.
Yeah, I love that. So a great blog post then from that could be, how can I learn the vocabulary of, let's say there's 4 topics that they cover specifically in one of the years, right? Like, how can I help my child understand and learn the key vocabulary for those science topics so that they feel more comfortable when they go into class and they actually understand what they're learning. I love that.
Maybe with Common Core as a reference.
Yep, absolutely. Common Core would
Denise.
definitely help you because you can easily look that up online and just see, okay, what should they be covering? Yeah, Denise.
I would also say she could focus on the pain points, right? So everyone knows no matter what grade you teach, there's certain pain points for most children that is going to stop them from receiving a B to an A, right? So if you're starting out for, what's her name again? The girl?
Tiffany.
So Tiffany, if you're starting out and you don't have any clients, writing in general, always write about what you know, right? What you're passionate about, what you know. And therefore, if you talk about those pain points that you know as a teacher or whatever your background is, and if you bring that across to the parents and they're saying, I do see those pain points in my child. I do see my child struggling with that. It's going to make them relate to you. It's going to make them trust you. And it's going to bring them in to inquire more about you and your services and how you can get their child from A to B.
Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden, I always think products too, because products are a great way. Like what types of things would people already be buying to try to help their child, right? It's almost like you're getting ahead of the curve there because they start doing the research on it and then they find your blog post that is a review about it, right? So are there any apps that they could use that would help them? Are there any books that cover that topic, but they cover it better, let's say, than other books do? They break it down, maybe picture books that even break down some of the more complicated things, like do a review of that picture book and how it helps to build that vocabulary. Any other thoughts?
I would just check because different states have some really specific exams and things in science, or different regions. If you're thinking in England, it's not going to be Common Core. So take a look at like those specific science exams or milestones or things that they have to create, that they have to do in general. And then think of how to study for, how to prepare for those types of ideas. I think
I like that.
Really good.
Like,
especially
they do have science
terms.
I believe they do have science here in Wisconsin on the state test. So what topics are covered on the state test could be a blog post in and of itself, right? Like, so that the parents, again, they're aware of, okay, what should I be doing to prepare my child for that test? Because that's what they're being judged on, right? They'll get information back from the school on, hey, your child's doing well in this topic or not doing well in this topic. Here's what they scored on that state test. And parents want their kids to do well on those state tests. That's important for them. So by finding out what information is covered on that state test or how to go about a written response in science, right? Like we have to do a lot of writing in science, like more than you would ever think. So another blog post could be how to write a great response for open-ended science questions. Yeah. So many ideas. See, like once you start writing, like all of a sudden the ideas, they just start like multiplying. And other people are like, yeah, or you could do this, or you could do that. It's really, really awesome. So Tiffany said, thank you guys. That's really helpful. She feels a lot more prepared to start writing. So now that you have some of those ideas kind of mapped on out, now it just comes on down to thinking, okay, sometimes even what topics are covered during certain times of year. Are there certain topics that are covered during certain times of year, because that could be a great time to make sure that you plan your blog to have that blog post ready for that time of year. Like Earth Day, let's say, right? Because that would be a big science topic. That would be, I think Earth Day is in April. So I would say, okay, I want to do like an Earth Day one for April, and think about like what are all of the different science topics / holidays that maybe even have a day associated with it. Look them on up. There could be like a random, I don't know, random biology day or something. It's amazing some of the random days that are on out there. It's the official biology day.
And look ahead so that and write about it before it's right there on top of them.
Because then it's too late. By then it's already too late. People have already looked up the topic and now it's irrelevant, right? So by the time you would get that post out, if you're a week late on it, it's already past. Also, think about trends, current trends that are happening. I think I know everyone is really done talking about coronavirus, but Omicron isn't going away here in the United States. You could talk about what biology, or what science, how does science fit in with Omicron right now? Again, taking the current trend of what's happening, building it on into your blog.
Yes, if you find a way to take current events, something they're hearing about, and make it apply to what they have to do in a class, it's relevant. It's going to catch their ear. It's going to perk them up, and they'll start to listen differently to information around them.
Yeah. All right. Favorite tools that you guys have? Because thinking about this, all of a sudden I'm like, oh, Google Trends. Like Google Trends can help you because you can just type in Google Trends and see, okay, what's trending in the topic that I'm teaching? Anything trending right now that I could create a blog post about? Or Answer the Public. What types of questions are going to be asked? Quora, Uber Suggest, Title Generator. All these are tools that I use when I'm starting to generate ideas, or I'm thinking of headlines, or I'm thinking of where do I want to go with this topic. I'll go to any one of those tools to kind of figure out what kind of twist do I want to take with it. Any of you guys have any favorite tools that you use?
Pretend that you're looking for that information as a parent, whatever it is. You can address it and they'll give you those hints in Google.
Yep.
Oh, people who ask
Love
this
that.
also ask this.
Yes.
And this. So it takes you through a thread.
Yes. Yeah, so it already finishes it for you. So start typing it in and see how does Google finish it. It'll give you 10 different ideas of how Google will finish it, right? And you can take a look at, are any of these ways something that I could apply? I love that. Perfect.
I'm afraid I did not know about Google Trends. I'm happy to be listening.
I'm so glad I decided
Welcome
to
to the blogging mastermind, Lynn. We've covered
I missed it.
Oh, well, that's my plug for the blogging mastermind.
I like to use keywords everywhere.
Yep.
I like that one a lot. I'm trying to see some other ones I use. I don't remember all the names. Go ahead, Lynn.
There's Surfer also. So that when you Google, it posts to the right of your question who has searched for it, and they'll have a number of terms. It just comes up regularly when you search.
Right.
Yeah.
But it only comes on up if you have downloaded that Chrome extension.
Yeah.
So yeah, keyword, you said keyword surfer?
I think it might just be called Surfer. It would make more sense to be keyword surfer.
I also do, what is it called? Headline Studio. And I know for a fact I got that from Suzanne. I did not know about it. So those are the main two I use a lot.
Awesome.
Yeah, Headline Studio is what was Headline Analyzer.
Okay.
So they have a studio, they call it Studio now, but it's like a co-schedule if you type into Google Code Schedule headline analyzer, it should come up the link. And another tool that I recommend, if you don't have something like the paid subscription to Grammarly, but you really want to make your writing more readable, I recommend going to hemingwayapp.com. The website is free to use. There is a desktop app that you can download, which costs $19.99. So I think it's kind of a nice sweet spot for people, but the free website does a lot. You paste your text into it and it automatically, reads it for readability, and it will give you a grade level estimate as to what it's at. And then it highlights different things that you can do to make it kind of easier to read. So it'll point out like really hard to read sentences. It will point out passive voice and different things to try and help you. Passive voice. You can use it a little bit, but yeah, I'm at war with passive voice.
Me too. Every day.
Because it's in academic writing all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But active voice does make it sound. It sounds so much better when you guys write with active voice. So if you guys are not aware of the difference between active voice and passive voice, look it up. Make sure you get really familiar with it, because writing in the second person with active voice will get more people taking the right actions you want them to take than any other kind. Like, that is a copywriting guru tip. I'm just going to say. I suck at active voice, and I have to keep fixing my voice to be active. But everything that I say, like, even when I've seen like the difference when I see people who write it in passive voice and then they write it in active voice, I'm like, oh, that does sound better. Every time.
It does.
Every time.
And it will sound better to your audience.
Right. So as much as you're at war with it, keep being at war with it, because it starts changing you. It starts changing your writing. All of a sudden, I notice like little words that I would use when I talk, I don't use anymore in my writing because I've made the mistake so many times and had to edit it out. It's great to have. Let's talk about that. What kind of voice and language should we be using when we're writing?
Okay, so you keyed in on two things. One is that active voice. And you also clued in on using that second person. So that means writing with the word you a lot, basically. Mm-hmm. You are writing directly to that person. And that active voice is really where you're starting with whatever the subject is. So I like to think of it when I see passive voice or something, it's usually like it starts with an object, but it usually doesn't tell you who did something. So whenever you're writing a sentence, think of what's your subject, who did what, and that writing that for that person, or who does what. So maybe it's a tutorial, how to do this. So using that active voice is going to make your writing easier to understand, and it just sounds so much better. I can't really articulate it well, but you can tell the writing comes alive more.
Keeps it from sounding like a textbook or something that's required reading.
Yeah, it does.
It seems more personable, and I think we do enjoy reading things that seem a little bit more personable than jargony, or it's just talking about the other person. It's not really including us, and it definitely makes a huge difference. So for those people that are on the fence, like they have never blogged before, maybe they have students, maybe they don't have students, but they're scared of getting started. What's some advice that you could give them, you guys? Go for it, Lynn.
Doesn't have to be perfect. Get something down on paper.
Mm-hmm. You can't edit nothing, right?
You can't edit nothing.
Start there.
Isn't that great grammar? Don't you just, what's that do to you, Suzanne? Do you hear that?
Oh, I am sure there are a lot of things that come out of my mouth that make Suzanne cringe.
Would you see it in her eyes?
I have expressions that are just too easy to read. I could never play poker or anything. Joanne can read me so perfectly whenever I'm like cringing or something over something I hear. But Joanne, I'm not cringing over anything. And Lynn, I really just like that advice.
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah.
You can't edit.
If you have a person in mind, the ideal person, write to them.
Yes.
And
exactly.
One thing you made very clear to us is that it's not like academic writing. It's not grammatically correct. It's a new form of writing for most people.
Yeah.
And it's very freeing once you break through that.
Yes. And the more that you do it, the better that you get, right? So in the beginning, it's okay if you suck, okay? Take a look at one of my very first YouTube videos or one of my very first blog posts. I can guarantee you it sucked, okay? The point is we have to start doing it so that we can take ourselves from that area of it sucks to, okay, it's getting better. It's getting better and it's getting better. We only get better through actually doing it. And I think too, like taking a look and seeing, read other blog posts.
Mm-hmm.
Start there. Like take a look at, if you're scared about blogging yourself, take a look at some other blog posts, what you like, what you don't like, so that you can begin understanding the process a little bit more, that there's headlines, that there's, shorter sentences, there's images to help explain different ideas, right? Like all those different pieces. What do you like? What do you not like? What do you want to add into your writing? And then continue to analyze your own writing over time so that it can get better. Because this isn't just like, just keep writing the way you always write and then don't do anything to try to get better. Because if you do, you're probably not going to have the kind of success that you'd like to have.
Absolutely. And I would just add to, for beginners, something that Suzanne, what really helped me get over the hump was when she had us write down 3 or 4 different topics that you already know. You don't have to go and like research it to, forever. It's stuff that you're already passionate about. If you start with that, it's going to help you understand, like, I do have a voice. I do have something to say, and I can talk about it, and I can feel confident about it. And it's going to help you feel comfortable when you hit that publish button, because I'll tell you, hitting that publish button for some reason does something to our mind. But when you feel good about what you wrote and it came from your heart and you're helping people because you focus on topics that you like, it kind of just brings down the walls. Mm-hmm. So write about what you know, write about what you like, and then focus on the keywords and stuff like that. Just write.
Denise, you said something so important that you have to think about who you're writing to. You are helping them.
Mm-hmm.
Think more about them than about yourself, and the words can flow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. So you guys, that's how you get rid of writer's block. Come up with some of those topics and think about, what are people buying? What are they doing? What are they struggling with? What questions are they asking? What products are they buying? What books are they reading? What blogs are they, reading? What YouTube videos are they watching? Like, get into their world and find out all of that stuff. Come up with a few topics that you can write about, and then just write 10 minutes a day. It's that simple. That's how you get rid of writer's block. And you get over that idea that everything has to be 100% perfect. You might have some grammatical mistakes in what you write, and it's okay. Like, don't stop doing it because one person says, oh, you wrote your YOU''RE instead of YOUR. Those kinds of mistakes are going to happen once in a while. They really are. You're going to miss through them because you're reading through your own stuff. Just give the most polished piece you possibly can. One of the tips that Suzanne has changed my life is I will read my stuff every time now backwards, sentence by sentence. And that helps me see, does that sentence make sense all by itself? Does it sound grammatically correct? Because when we write the way that we talk, which is how I usually write, then you're going to end up with some sentences that don't make sense. And you have the opportunity to fix it when you do that. It's like, oh, yeah, I should change the way I worded this or I worded that. And it makes a difference. And those free tools that are out there, Grammarly has a free one even just for, like, if you download it, like it pops on into your social media stuff too. So that people will be a little bit less judgmental if you have any errors or grammatical mistakes inside of there. Always reread what you write. Your first draft is not your last draft, okay? This is what a lot of people think. The very first thing that I wrote is perfect. I don't want to change a thing. And that is so far from the truth, right? Your first draft should not be your last draft. So don't write and then publish. It's not an email. It's not an email that's going out to a friend that you're writing to. So really think through that piece of it and join us next week. We have an amazing conference, you guys. You're going to get to win stuff. If you haven't signed up for Impact yet, definitely sign on up. And if you like the information on this channel, please do me a favor and hit that subscribe, hit that like, and keep tuning on in, because we love to be able to share things that are going to be useful for you with your tutoring business. And we got some really awesome stuff planned for 2022, and you're not going to want to miss it. So thanks for joining us today, and you guys enjoy the rest of your day. Bye, everyone.